All right, guys, we are live. This is the Shillan and Duffy show, live on sherdog.com. We are recapping UFC Kansas City, Ian Machado Gerry versus Carlos Prates versus Ian Machado Gerry. I am your host. My name is Keith Shillan. Joining me, as always, is the senior editor of sherdog.com, the great Ben Duffy. Ben, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing pretty well. What a hell of a card, dude. I mean, like, I myself am not doing great. I ate too much for lunch and like put myself into a food coma for most of the afternoon. Just feel like crap, but
I feel
good now.
Was it Kansas City barbecue? Was it were you getting in the mood for a Kansas City card or what?
No. Dude, if I want barbecue, I live in Texas. I'll be all right. I mean, I like Kansas City style barbecue. You know, I like me some ribs. I like kind of like their tomato ketchup based barbecue sauces, but I'm in Texas, dude. We're all set for barbecue. No, I just had I had my first cheeseburger of 2025 and my body was not ready.
Your first cheeseburger of 2025?
Yeah.
Damn, bro. You've been hitting hard, huh?
I have been. I mean, for anyone who's a regular watcher of our show, they may have noticed that I've shed a little weight in the last 6 months.
How much have you dropped?
A little under 50 pounds.
50 pounds? Jeez. I gotta get
I was on Halloween, I was 239 and I was like a $194 this morning. So like 45 pounds.
Damn.
I wasn't getting my money's worth out of my gym. Like I was just, getting my ass kicked. I was letting myself down, letting my training partners down. So yeah, lost some weight, feel good. But anyway, I splurged today, had a cheeseburger, and I'm good for the first half of 2025. I'll try again around my birthday.
So we're meeting each other in August, and I'm staying at my uncle's house on a beach. I don't know if Ben's gonna meet us at the beach or what, but man, I might have to meet him out in the city. I don't want Ben walking around with no shirt on, making me look like making me look like Daniel Cormier out there or something.
Oh yeah, man, the 20th anniversary tough thing where Chael is in like his basketball jersey and Daniel Cormier looking like Andre the Chief Waters from like UFC 11 or something.
We gotta get to these action fights.
Yeah.
People are like, dude, it's 1:45 in the morning and these guys are talking about dieting, and we got 14 fights to cover. Shout out to everybody in the chat. We'll try to get to as many comments as possible. Let's get right into it. In the main event, it was a fight that we were really pumping up. We thought it was a spectacular fight. It lived up to the hype. Ian Machado Gerry won a unanimous decision over Carlos Prates. It got a little scary. I mean, really scary at the end for Machado Gerry. If you're a Carlos Prates backer, you're probably going crazy. And but overall, give me a grade just on Ian Machado Gerry's performance.
B+. Came through with a fantastic game plan. And here's the thing, it's been an odd couple of years for Gerry. He very famously bounced from gym to gym, and the things that you expect to suffer from that: conditioning, fight preparation. His conditioning was good tonight, and he had a great game plan for Prates. Things kind of fell apart at the end. I mean, if Prates had just had a little more zip to him in the last 2 minutes of that fight, we're talking about an incredible come from behind victory, and Gerry's same B performance isn't enough to get the win. So yeah, it was a good performance, but not great. But you know what? You don't get to a title shot in the UFC without being good, obviously, but you need a little bit of luck. Like, just the things have to kind of crumble your way once in a while. They did tonight. Ian Gerry dodged a bullet, says 1 foot out the door. You know what? He dodged a bullet, and the problem is that there was only one bullet. Like, he should have just been strafed in the second half of that 5th round, and it should have been no question, you know? But no, here's the thing. 2 things that kind of surprised me. If you told me that Gerry was going to be 1 on 10 for takedown attempts at the end of the 3rd round, I would have been like, oh, dude, he probably got it put on him, didn't he? That's one thing. But no, he did enough to win. Dude, he was winning the striking battles against a guy that was looking like the scariest striker in the welterweight division. And this is something that we'll both say on the previews a lot. Fighter A needs to go for takedowns early and often, and even if he doesn't get them, it'll stop his opponent from really getting into a groove on the feet. I feel as though there was a little bit of that. Like, he made Prates uncomfortable, and even just running him to the fence and, you know, trying to take his back standing, dragging him to the canvas for a second, having him bounce back up. It, whether it counted as an actual takedown or not, that was sapping Prates's gas tank. It was keeping Prates from doing the Prates thing where he kind of gets the range, gets the rhythm, and then walks his guy into the fence and murders him. So that was surprising. You know, maybe shouldn't have been, but surprising that Gerry, despite struggling with the takedowns early, won the first 3 rounds, no question. The other surprising thing is that the guy who openly smoked cigarettes was the dude who turned it up in rounds 4 and 5 and like came close to winning the fight in the last minute. Like, everything that they told me in like 5th grade health class was a lie. I should have been smoking this whole time. I'd probably like lose more weight too.
Yeah. I never seen like someone out of shape because they smoke cigarettes. It's usually those cheeseburgers and that Texas barbecue, and in my case, I quit my diet as much as Chelsea Chandler does. But so I'll say this. I agree. I think a B+ is perfect. To me, he had an A into the very end. Still finding a way to hold on at the end. Really good win. Is still really good. I think what happened, and I said this on the preview show, and I'm going to say it again. I really think the UFC dropped the ball on this one, because to me, you had a spectacular main event, and you have to look at the timing. The UFC schedule this week, they had there's so many major sports going on this week that this card got buried. There was a big boxing match today. Obviously, the NFL draft was going on. And if MLB is in the season, already starting up. You have the U.S. Open in wrestling. If you're a combat sports fan, you might be following that. And then obviously you had the NBA playoffs, the NHL playoffs. Like, there's so many. Oh, it wasn't there like a big, was it the Masters last week or something like that? Or
there was definitely some golf, like,
I don't know, some other thing. And I'm sure there's some third world country people kicking a soccer ball somewhere. People care about. So it was so much stuff. And to me, the big thing about Machado Gerry is he is so good on the mic. He has a big personality. So you either gotta love him, you gotta hate him. And that's what they want. To me, he needs to be on a pay-per-view. A press conference is better for him than main eventing. And then you have the whole fight nerds, the way that they've just, everybody loves him and what's going on with them. So I want to apologize. It's like raining here, so my internet's going up and down. So if I'm breaking up, I apologize. It's just I can't control the weather. It's like
your sound seems fine. So
okay, cool.
Yeah.
I think it's like 3 Saturdays in a row that I've had to say this, but yeah, it's saying that my Wi-Fi is already way on the bottom, but it is what it is. As far as what I saw Gerry do, I always knew that he was super talented, but I didn't realize how intelligent he was. I mean, first, the high kick that he throws it up so fast. He doesn't load up on it. He just kind of flicks it up there. And what he was doing was he wasn't allowing – he kept making Prates have to block instead of going on offense, but also kicking his powerful hand, which is the left hand, kick it over and over and over again. Maybe break it, wrist, maybe break a hand, something like that. And just, or obviously you could just land a big blow too. So I think that was really smart. And then he mentioned it. I wrote in my notes, and then he mentioned it on the in the cage with Paul Felder. Every time he was plotting forward and Prates would start to pressure him, he's grabbing that. He's doing like this snatch single. Then he started changing it to like a double where he was doing the back trip with it, and he didn't have to even hit it. It just breaking up the rhythm Prates. Kevin Prates coming forward, and he can't plant his foot. He has to think about it. He's got to defend it. He can't. He's getting his range, and he's doing that, and it's really good. And then his wrestling's underrated. Like, he didn't get him early, but then he started timing it a lot better. He started getting that back trip, getting on top. Just so super impressive to me.
A lanky, pasty Irish guy, like, you don't expect him to have any takedown game, and yeah, it's actually quite good.
Yeah, absolutely. On the flip side, let's give me a grade for Prates.
C.
Yeah, I feel the same. He didn't look bad. I think he just limited his opportunity to win. And what I mean by that is he plays with fire, where he doesn't. He obviously had low output, but besides that, he limited his moments. So he has to really capitalize on every moment he has. And he was loading up too much. He did struggle with the speed of Gary. Gary was correct. Gary was beating him to the punch. He was kind of getting him guessing. He didn't have any rhythm. And then it kind of came down to where it was going to be like, all right, he's going to have to land one big shot and have a spectacular knockout. And I think you said it before. It felt like that Star Wars one, and this is why I can put Star Wars in the hashtag Star Wars so I can get our views up. In the first Star Wars, not the episode one, but the first Star Wars movie where Luke Skywalker, spoiler alert if you haven't seen it. So if you haven't seen Star Wars, you might want to turn off the next 10 seconds. But he's got to shoot the missile in the little hole. That's kind of like what Prates did. He's given himself such a limited moment. Now he's with the fight nerd, so they have like the Force on their side.
Yeah, he's putting away the little targeting computer. Use the Force, Carlos.
Yeah. So I think that was one thing. Now, don't get me wrong. He almost pulled it off dead. If he had 30 more seconds, he might have finished it. Now, Gary said he wasn't as hurt, and some of that was true. When he was on bottom, there were some good shots coming down from him on top. So, he reversed one takedown attempt where he ended up on top, and then he made him pay for it. So, I don't feel like I definitely think his stock dropped a little bit, but I still view this guy as like a top 10 guy that could start really anybody.
Yeah, depending on matchups, I'd still favor him over several people in the top 15, and he has that proverbial puncher's chance against any of them.
Yeah, absolutely. So, let's talk about Machado Gerry. Now he's calling to be the backup for the title fight between Bilal Muhammad and oh my god, I can't think of his name. The
Jack Della Maddalena.
Yeah. And okay, whatever, maybe he gets that. But one thing that jumped out to me was after the Shavkat performance and after this performance, a lot of people said
wait, news update from JSX. Dana just confirmed that Gary is indeed the backup for Bilal JDM.
Well, there you go.
Right.
Isn't that fight in like 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
Yeah.
That's pretty ballsy. I mean, think about it. You just went 25 minutes. Now, again, obviously, I'm sure he's got to pass some medical.
You went 25 minutes and we're gassed as hell by the end of it.
Yeah.
And you're going to cut weight again in 2 weeks?
Yeah. You know what, though? When you get an opportunity like that, you got to take it.
Oh, Jay may have been messing with us. Okay. Because, Gary has a bad cut, so he can't fight in 2 weeks. He's going to be on non-contact for 60 days probably. So.
Oh yeah. That's a good point. Yeah. When you're saying cut, I thought you were talking about like weight cut, but he's got to cut under that eye.
Okay. I'm not watching the press conference, but people are going back and forth. I guess Dana literally did just say it. So, all right. I don't know how that's going to work.
Yeah, but Dana says a lot of things, but really though, who else is there? I mean, I guess Sean Brady.
There's Sean Brady, who at least is a little bit further from his last fight. Sure. And if I recall correctly, didn't have any injuries from that would jeopardize his ability to step up.
Yeah. So before we go into the matchmaking, we do next. Talk to me about Prates. Like, what stood out to you besides the things I already said?
Just he had established such a pattern in his first few fights in the UFC. It wasn't like he won every minute of every fight, but as a viewer, I kind of settled into this pattern where I was like, okay, Prates he's figuring it out. He's doing his fight nerds thing. The computer's cranking away, and all of a sudden he's going to land like 5 clean strikes in a row. The guy's going to go careening into the fence, and Prates is going to finish this. And it's probably going to happen in the first 8 minutes of the fight. Here, it never happened. And I'm not jumping off the Carlos Prates bandwagon, as we both seem to be saying. I'm impressed with Ian Gary and his team, but it does show me that Prates will be a little more dependent on matchmaking than I expected, which is what you kind of find out about any hot shit striker in a decent division. So I can't imagine that the fighting nerds, having taken their first loss in a million years, aren't going to take this back to the drawing board and Prates come back better in his next fight. Like we're going to talk about somebody on this card that coming off a loss looked to be different / damaged goods mentally. I don't picture that for Carlos Prates. I feel pity for Carlos Prates' next opponent, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, and you're right. Like he didn't look like damaged goods in the fight. I mean, he's down. In my opinion, I had him down 4-0. I saw some people had it 3-1, but either way, he needed a stoppage. And I mean, he was going for it in the 5th round. He didn't. He didn't seem too frustrated. Like he was still confident. He was marching down Gerry. He almost got the stoppage. So
it
like,
was right there. Like there was like almost 2 minutes left, and Gary's on his knees. Like it's not even a single. He's just got his arms wrapped around Prates' ankle. There was a 45-second stretch where 3 hammer fists to the side of the head probably would have put Dan Miragliotta into action. Like if you're a Carlos Prates fan or you're one of Carlos Prates' cornermen, you probably had a mini stroke watching the second half of that 5th round. Like I would have been screaming my head off.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So even when he had such a bad night, he still almost got a stoppage. Nonprofit 87 says Prates beats everyone not named Shavkat, Bilal, and Ian. I'll throw one more name in that. I'll throw Sean Brady. I think Sean Brady is a bad stylistic matchup. But again, like you said, he could starch anybody. Honestly, and people are probably going to disagree with me on this. Of the 4 people I just said, to me, for Prates, the easiest, most winnable fight, I think, is Shavkat.
I agree.
Now, again,
I wouldn't favor him. Like if Shavkat and Prates fight, 4 months from now, Shavkat's probably like a -180, -200 favorite.
Yeah.
But Prates is a super live dog.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. But my point is at that level, really, the top 5, top 6 guys can really beat anybody. I just think it's such a fantastic division right now. I mean, it really has. I mean, 170 has been such a good division for, oh my God. I mean, really? Probably all the way back to Matt Hughes, George St. Pierre rivalry. When Matt Hughes was the guy and St. Pierre was the next, guy coming up. It's been, one of, if not the best division for all the time between name value and depth. It's in action and everything. It's so good. When I was watching Machado Gerry, his last 2 fights, obviously the loss to Shavkat and now this win, I do think there's guys who are bad stylistic matchups. The 2 that really come to mind would be the current champion Bilal Muhammad and Sean Brady with bad stylistic matchups. But on the flip side, I kept saying the same thing. Like, I believe that this guy can beat anybody on any given night, and I believe he's going to win the title one day.
You get no argument from me.
Oh,
I mean, I wish I could just go off on you and make it more interesting for the listeners, but I'm co-signed. Moneyliner's asking about the hat.
Ben, I'll let you explain that hat.
Well, that is a hat from the greatest franchise on the planet, Buc-ee's. Everything is bigger in Texas, including the gas stations and rest stops. If you're ever on the road in the middle of Texas, biggest of the 48 contiguous states, and you're like, man, I really need to pee and I need some gas for my car. I need a place with 60 gas pumps, 60 squeaky clean bathrooms, better barbecue than 95% of places outside of Texas that smokes its own beef jerky. Go to Buc-ee's.
Yeah.
Get yourself a hat while you're there. Buc-ee's rules.
Yeah. I went to Texas for the first time 2 years ago, and I was in Dallas. I went to Fort Worth. I mean, I love Fort Worth. I love things in Dallas. I love, I went to Kennedy's where you got assassinated, and I went to different things. I ended up going to Waco, all kinds of stuff. But I think the first thing I talked to Ben about was Buc-ee's. And why doesn't Buc-ee's sponsor us? Everyone needs a message. Like, go on Buc-ee's, contact us, and say sponsor the Shillan and Duffy Show. No one gives them all love. We got to make Ben. When we're in Texas, we got to make that happen.
Okay. Well, dude, if I'm going to come down and see you in Galveston, it's about an hour drive for me. I'm going to pass like 3 Buc-ee's, including one of the mega Buc-ee's that's like, 150,000 square feet. It's like the size of a medium Walmart.
I don't know. The one in where my uncle lives, he lives in a place called Denton.
Yeah, Denton.
Which is just, I believe it's south of Dallas.
You know what?
It's not far from Dallas at all.
It's a suburb of Dallas for sure.
Yeah, it's like 20 minutes from Dallas, 20 minutes from Fort Worth. It's right next to Grapevine, which is another really cool city that I got to go to, which is a really. I love Texas, dude. I've said it many times. I should be living in Texas, and Ben should be living up here. Anyways, let's get to the matchmaking. So the backup thing, I got no problem with Ian Machado Gerry being the backup. My only concern is I feel like he's the more marketable fight. Him versus Bilal's I don't want to say a better matchup because obviously Jack Della Maddalena is an incredible fighter, but that would be the fight that would draw more eyeballs.
Oh yeah.
So like the backup is a more popular pick than the guy who's going to get the title fight in Jack Della Maddalena.
Yeah, that's a rough look, but just having him there, if this actually happens, puts him in perfect position to, have a little conversation with the winner.
Yeah,
kind of set the stage for something to happen later this year.
Yeah, I mean, Shefkat was supposed to get this fight, and then obviously Jack Della Maddalena took his place when Shefkat had to pull out. To me, Shefkat's the next guy, like undefeated, everything, all stoppages. Except for Machado Gerry now. Just unbelievable record. He's next, which kind of means like I have to give. I got to give him a matchup. And I don't do like number one contender matchups. I try not to have the guys face each other, but when you're 2 or 3 back, you kind of have to, make a match. You got to have to put these guys against each other because you really can't predict all of them. So I'm putting, and it's going to probably be a co-main event of a pay-per-view or a third from the top pay-per-view. Give me Ian Machado Gerry versus Sean Brady.
I don't hate that. I was kind of figuring that Brady could sit pat and maybe slide into a title shot at some point this year, unless we end up in the situation where we get a rematch. So I was thinking if Michael Morales beats Gilbert Burns, Morales is undefeated as well, and he's not really in the conversation just because he hasn't quite leveled up to the same level of competition. I like Gerry versus Morales, and I think the winner of that is an easy sell for a title shot.
Yeah, Morales called out Ian Machado Gerry too, saying he doesn't like him and told him like go fuck yourself and everything this week. Which is I mean we've talked about this a bunch of time. I don't go on it too much. I don't understand the hate Machado Gerry. I don't know. Maybe I'm a boomer. I don't get it. Carlos Prates. I want to get him an exciting fight. I want to get him a fight that I think he wins. But I also want it to be a name. I'm having him headline a fight night again. I'm giving him Stephen Thompson.
I don't hate that at all. Like if Thompson wants it, I have no idea whether Stephen Thompson's going to fight again, but I like that. If it happens, I put down Randy Brown, who had a fantastic, had a performance that ended fantastically tonight, and mentioned Carlos Prates' name.
He did. Yep, he said win or lose. He said win or lose. So I mean, he wasn't getting him if he won. That for sure wasn't happening. Yeah. But, anyway, let's move on. We still have 13 more fights, so we gotta speed it up a little bit. In the co-main event, AnthonySmith made his last walk to the octagon as he took on Mingyang Zhang. Zhang Mingyang. I sometimes I mix up the order of the last names and the first name, but Zhang, the younger fighter, won by first round TKO. But we'll put the whole how do you remember Anthony Smith? Put that aside for a second. But why did the UFC do this?
I don't know, but considering that one of the things Anthony Smith is most famous and respected for is being too honorable to, pardon my French, bitch his way into a UFC title. I can imagine Smith turning down easier fights.
Yeah, he probably would have. But I would have tried. I would have tried to get him the easiest fight in the division, something that he wins, especially being that you're in you know, the region where he came from and everything. Like, yeah, this guy fought in the Midwest regional scene forever, and like, I don't know who's the absolute bum in the division.
Ozzy Diaz just picked up his first UFC win a few weeks back. If he were available, that would have been a perfect choice because he looked like a guy that was never going to get one.
Who did Ozzy beat? Give him that guy.
Eor Pateria, like I still think is terrible. Like there are people. It's 205 outside of the top 10 or 12. Most of them are terrible. There were people available, but you know what? Smith went out and
Dev just said the guy he should have fought. There's the guy.
Paul Craig. And they didn't. Paul Craig's got a fight coming up that he's on a 3-fight losing streak, and it's not an easy fight.
Yeah, Paul Craig actually could maybe even beat Anthony Smith. But at least if Paul Craig beats him, it's not going to be a bloody mess and his kids are in the crowd. It's just like, what are you doing? UFC is, and then like, hey, we have the nicest like tribute to you. How much we like you after we just like made you to a sacrificial lamb to the bloodthirsty gods.
And you know what? Like, I went way out on a limb, and just for the record, this is one of the chalkiest UFC cards of the year. The only upset on the whole card, you mentioned it in the Sherdog Slack, was Abuz Magomedov. All the rest of our upset picks, flailed. I picked Smith, and you were dead right. Because here's the thing. Smith went out and mentally had the right fight. He was doing the Anthony Smith things where he was trying to fight the outfight. And when Zhang came in, he nailed him with a couple of level elbows, which is a trademark Anthony Smith way of managing distance. But the durability is so totally gone. Like as soon as Zhang touched him, like Smith was done. That fight, it was like a 4-minute fight and it could have been stopped in 2 minutes because once Smith went down, he basically turtled up for 2 full minutes with Jason Herzog just begging him to do anything, letting Zhang Mingyang basically fill out an entire bingo card of fouls. Like, yeah, it was ugly. Smith's durability is just completely gone. I can't believe that's the same guy that fought Glover Teixeira like 3.5 years ago.
What for says Travis Fulton? Yeah, that's the kind of guy they did dig up.
You know what? The UFC tried to get a hold of Travis Fulton, and he left him hanging.
Oh. All right. Let's evaluate Zhang for a second. To me, it's super hard. Like, to me, Smith was so bad that it's like, I can't say, okay, Zhang looked great. Cause it's like, dude, he's so freaking bad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Dude, when I picked the upset, I said, I know Smith is shot. I just don't think Zhang Mingyang is any good. And we still don't have any idea what it looks like when he fights for more than 4 minutes.
Yeah.
So I still feel the same way.
Yeah. I was watching, I was watching this fight. And the one thing I do like, I like that when he was super favored, supposed to have a spectacular finish, he did. Like he did smash him. Like he did what a top guy would do to Anthony Smith. But again, it's like, how excited do you get about this? Like today I was at wrestling practice and it was a smaller class. Saturday's usually our smallest class. And there was we had a big fundraiser going on too. So a lot of people go to that up early for that and setting up and stuff. But my son was wrestling with an 8th grader. My son's in 4th grade. Now the 8th grader is smaller, but he's still like, oh God, he's still 30 pounds bigger than my son. And the 8th grader was putting on my son. And one guy asked me, "Oh, how good is he?" And I'm like, "Well, he's being the shit of a 4th grader, but like, he actually is really good." Like, I know you can't tell because he's beating up a kid that's he's way smaller than. That's kind of how I felt like with this fight. Like, yeah, like, okay, cool. Like, I felt like it's like, I don't know. Does this make you feel good to like beat up Anthony Smith in front of his family, in front of his hometown, in his retirement? Like you put Zhang in such a bad position.
Yeah, and he tried his best. He got a little English. Tried to say a few things, but yeah, it was. I'm not going to call it like the worst designed farewell fight for a UFC fighter. Where they knew it was going to be their last fight, but it had some of that Frankie Edgar last fight feel, where they just put him out there to get, hey, speak of the devil, Chris Gutierrez, just put him out there to get murdered by a younger, fresher, bigger dude. Yeah, sad stuff.
Yeah. I think I do like Zhang. I think he moved up a little bit. And I mean, that division is one of the easier divisions, light heavyweight. So, yeah, I feel pretty good about him. Antoine Willis, we'll talk about Anthony Smith now. Antoine Willis asked earlier, how do you feel about people mentioning Anthony Smith for the UFC Hall of Fame? Ben, you know what my answer is going to be, but tell me your thoughts on Smith being in the UFC Hall of Fame.
I say first ballot like it isn't just directly up to Dana White.
Yeah, but you know, like an actual voting process with 5 years, then have a certain time.
I mean, it really does come down to, does Dana like you? Because if it was about anything else, Frank Shamrock would.
Sure.
I mean, Frank Shamrock would be probably one of the 10 or 15 most deserving people, period, for how great he was and how important he was, to the UFC. Sure. But he was very good, shockingly good for like a couple of years there. He's a guy that even on merit probably should get in eventually. So
this is how I feel about the UFC Hall of Fame, and this is going to be such a cop-out answer, but it's not a real Hall of Fame. It's not. I wish one day there was an actual true MMA Hall of Fame, and there was members of the press voting on it. You'd have like maybe 10 staff members from Sherdog, and and
sure,
some from MMA Junkie, from ESPN, and filling all the different sites. And it was a process. There was like, you can't fight for 5 years, and there was some kind of thing. If that was the case, I'm not voting for Anthony Smith when he's up. But this is more like the WWE Hall of Fame, where everybody gets in, as long as on good grounds with the UFC. And Anthony Smith is an employee for the UFC, and assuming when it's time for them, someone mentions his name in a boardroom, and they're like, "Yeah, we all like Anthony Smith. Is someone we like more right now? No, we all want to go Anthony Smith. Okay, Anthony Smith's in." Like,
it's a bunch of people sitting around a table in a boardroom, and like 8 of them saw Anthony Smith that week, and 8 more of them are working with him the coming weekend. Yeah, he's in.
And some of it also has to do with like, okay, let's call up this person to see if they want to attend the UFC this weekend. Anthony Smith would be easy, but like fill in other guys. Say Dustin Poirier doesn't stick around. He just, when he retires, he's off in the sunset. We're having an event. It's around, the weeks up to it when we start announcing, the Hall of Fame. Okay, can we get Dustin Poirier? There's a card in, and we'll say Chicago. Oh, Poirier's busy. He can't be there. Okay, who can we get there? Oh, we can get Anthony Smith. All right, Anthony Smith's going to the Hall of Fame. Like, that's how they do it too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But the reason why I say everyone gets him, like Matt Serra's in the Hall of Fame. Though Pioneer guys, I do come some slack, but like Oleg Taktarov, yeah, he won UFC 6. Cool. Like, they deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. Mo Smith, all right, cool. He beat Mark Coleman, and he defended the belt one time against Tate Abbott, who took the fight on like days' notice. Does he deserve being in a Hall of? Does he deserve to be called a Hall of Famer? No. Like, so he's gonna get it. But anyways, I don't want to like dog Anthony Smith right now.
No.
So the thing we always ask is like, Ben, your son has a son. He says, Grandpa, tell me about Anthony Smith. What do you think is going to come to your mind?
I'm always very wary about taking sports figures as general role models.
Sure.
Like, for one thing, MMA is full of some terrible people.
Yeah. Even people you think are the good ones, you can still find flaws.
I'd be happy to tell my kids, whether they're talking about going into a combat sport or just whatever they're doing, hey, Anthony Smith is a good example of persistence, maximizing your potential, doing things the right way. Like, just a solid cat through and through, a good dude. And he was fortunate that translated into some unexpected success at the highest levels of the sport for a couple of years there. Like, good on him. I mean, think about what his retirement and next steps of his life looked like, 10 or 12 years ago, after, he didn't immediately come to the UFC out of the acquisition of Strikeforce. There's an alternate timeline where Anthony Smith goes on to fight Josh Neer 5 more times and and I'm not kidding, makes a grand total of under $500,000 for 25 fights in various regional promotions. He gets slaughtered in some season of PFL. He shows up in one championship and gets his head popped off by a roided up Angla and never even sniffs the UFC again. Instead, he's probably made, 10 or 12 million bucks. He's co-headline pay-per-views. He's got a desk job with the UFC, which, by the way, I think he's pretty good at.
He is.
Yeah. He's a feel-good story, even if the very last chapter of it was kind of hideous tonight.
Yeah. When Anthony Smith first joined the UFC, I expected this to be like, oh, nice, regional guy, mid guy. I expected him to maybe last a little bit, but never get out of the prelims. But like, oh, cool. The rest of his life, he can say he's a, UFC veteran. He's going to wash out, but instead to be one fight away from, one win away from being UFC champion. You mentioned the desk job, all that headline, how many UFC cards and pay-per-views and stuff. It was spectacular. Another thing, like insane toughness. Like I always think about the fight where I think it was Glover Teixeira, where his teeth were falling out, and he was telling his corner his teeth were falling out. And I'm so glad they put it in the package today. Like how much of a gangster he is, where he's yelling out to Hector Lombard, "Do you know my name now?" Talk about two opposites. Hector Lombard, like the epitome of athleticism and potential. And I know he can't UFC much later, but you get my point.
Yeah.
Versus the guy who has when those two guys came in the UFC roughly around the same time, and someone told you one of these guys is going to fight John Jones for the title, no one's saying Anthony Smith. Obviously the John Jones situation where the illegal knee, and then another one is dude had to fight a guy all drugged up in his house to protect his family. A lot of I've fought and wrestled criminals, but I've never had to do it where they came in my own house. It's different now.
Yeah, you've never done it in your boxers. Not knowing if the guy was armed or stoned or even alone.
Yeah, and I have my kids here. And
your kids are there.
Yeah, so
I mean, luckily your kid has a better double leg than you do at this point, so you had some backup. Yeah,
he cuts the corner on the single well. He does. He does. We were doing throws today, so and he enjoys doing that. So, let's match make Zhang real quick. What are you doing the next?
You know what? Having just talked mad shit on him, he won another fight by first round KO, despite what the UFC booth kept saying. He has been past the first round. It's just been a while, and he lost, so they don't mention it. But you got to give him a step up. You got to give him someone who's at least a peripheral name. In 2 weeks, Iwan Kudalaba and Modestas Bukauskas are fighting. I say give him the winner of that.
Yeah, I feel like he needs a name just because he's already beat a name. I was giving him Volkan Oezdemir and maybe the first fight of a pay-per-view.
I don't hate that either.
So let's go through these other fights a little quicker. Giga Chikadze returned after a long wait to take on David Onama, and kind of a fight that a lot of people were viewing as a passing the torch fight, and that's exactly what happened. As David Onama beat Giga Chikadze. So something that I like about Onama, one, he's well rounded, but I loved how well he was listening to his corner. His corner was telling him things. That to me will go a long way for a guy of his talent. Onama's he's won 4 fights in a row now. Are you Bob Simpson don't like calling him a future UFC champion. I don't know about that.
And that's nothing about Onama. That's more about featherweight, and lightweight.
Yeah,
those are just you name just about anybody, and I'm taking the field against them. The divisions are just too deep, but he is legit goods. There's no question about that. And you and I were pretty high on him, even when he got the short notice call up and fought Mason Jones back in 2021 or whenever it was. And he's only continued to improve since then. Onama looked fantastic, and being well-rounded only helps you if you have the discipline and the game plan to put your less well-rounded opponent on his shakier footing. Onama fought the perfect game plan against a guy like Giga Chikadze, who, is a fantastic striker and still has glaring deficiencies on the ground.
Yeah. I'm actually surprised that, especially in the third, where I had a 1-1 heading into the third, how long it took him before he looked for a takedown. I was surprised. It was pretty competitive third round. Halfway through it, I'm like, why isn't he going for a takedown? And then finally he just took him down and controlled and did enough to win the round. I'm not going to go fantastic. I don't know if he's that good. He was going against an aging fighter. Giga to me seems like he's still going to be obviously very dangerous. He's super fast, super accurate. He's tons of weapons on the feet. His kicks are so dangerous. The problem is his wrestling is bad. And the only thing worse than his wrestling is his get-up game. You take him down, the round's over. And
it doesn't help that sometimes he doesn't even really try.
Yeah, I'm so glad
dude, you are not the guy to close up your guard. You're not the guy to try to do jiu-jitsu off your back. Get the fuck up.
I would rather had him if I was his corner when it was 1-1, in my opinion, 1-1, and I think everyone's card was 1-1. He gets taken. It's a close round, and third he gets taken down. And now I'm just going to ride him off for the next 2 minutes, and the fight's going to be over, and Onama's going to win. I would rather have you give up your back, get choked out, and lose that way, but at least try. Give up your back, try to scramble up. If he catches you, he catches you. Yeah. If you remember, at one point he gave up his back very late, and Onama rode too high. Luckily for Onama, he was able to kind of pull Chikadze back in, but I don't know if you remember, he was way over the top, and actually he almost got out. Try it again, dude. So, Bob Smith is obviously still trolling over here, saying he's the future champion. So, with that said, who are you booking this future champion with next?
Another fighter that he hasn't been perfect in the UFC, but he's been real solid in his last 4 or 5 fights over the last 2 years, and the winner is clearly a top 10-ish guy. I'm giving him Pat Sabatini.
Dude, we have the same exact name. I wanted to give him I figured Giga's a bigger name, but it's so many guys in line right there. We have the same exact name. So that's good matching. So that should make it official. When we both say the same name, then the UFC should have to make that fight.
Agreed.
Before that, Michel Pereira took on Abus Magomedov.
Except, did he really?
Yeah, I don't know. Magomedov winning by unanimous decision. This was one of my worst calls probably we've ever done the show. I thought Pereira was going to run right through him. I thought this was going to be an absolute. I was looking at the line and I'm like, why is you said the line, and I was looking at it later, and I'm like, why is he? I forgot what it was, but it was something like -120. I'm like, he should be -320. He's going to kill him.
He's going to kill him. You picked a first round knockout. Tom Feely, who does our text previews, picked a first round knockout. I picked Pereira by decision, but I certainly acknowledge the possibility of a quick knockout. And even when you're Michel Pereira, you can't just do a Hadouken on people. You actually have to throw strikes at them if you want to knock them out. It's tempting to jump to conclusions and overreact and just say, okay, the Fluffy Hernandez fight broke Michel Pereira.
Sure.
But here's the thing. When Michel Pereira got to the UFC, he already had 9 or 10 career losses. He had lost before, and he lost 2 of his first 3 fights in the UFC. None of the losses stopped him from being a wild man. I'm giving Pereira one more fight to prove that, he's still dangerous, because he has an incredible assortment of offensive weapons, the expected and the unexpected ones, but you got to pull the trigger, because Abus Magomedov was a perfect setup for a highlight reel bounce back from Michel Pereira, and you never could have convinced someone of that by watching the fight. And if I can jump over to the other side of the line, this is one of those fights that didn't help either guy's stock very much, because for Abus Magomedov to be that gassed 9 minutes into a medium-paced kickboxing match where you've been the guy in the driver's seat the whole time, because what makes fighters tired generally is when they're not controlling the pace, when the other fighter is making them move when they don't want to, making them defend takedowns when they don't want to, making them walk backwards when they don't want to, making them have to exert themselves to get off the fence. Abus Magomedov didn't have to do any of that. He controlled the pace the whole time, and he still gassed out. Like, even at 185, he's going to get murked. I'm not sold on him at all.
I totally agree. I walk my dog at a faster pace than this fight was. Dude, I mean, his opponent. I mean, seriously, Pajeda did more moves in his who's it? Kanye West walk up to the stage.
I don't know. Like, I had it.
He did the new rap song that they all do the dance to.
Okay,
from the Super Bowl. And I don't. And then he did absolutely nothing. I said he was going to run through him. He said he ran away from him, and oh man, it was terrible. And then Magomedov, I see. I think it was Marcus Mustard, who's one of the best listeners here, always here, great. He said he looked Abus looked good. I thought it looked terrible. I'm with you, man. I'm trying to be all cool, like Yanni the Greek. I'm fading him in his next fight. I'm
not even sprinkling.
Yeah, especially if you have to step up in competition.
Yeah, only thing I'm sprinkling on Abus Magomedov is dirt.
Yeah, I'm gonna use a boost to either build up a prospect to beat him, or I'm gonna use him as a bounce back for somebody. Because I'm not believing at all. So I'm gonna give you my name. I'm going the bounce back way. I'm giving Marvin Vettori. I think Marvin Vettori needs a win. I think Vettori smashes him.
I don't mind that, but you know what? Next week, Bo Nichols fighting Rainier de Ritter. I don't mind giving him the winner of that. I think the winner of that is, probably Nickel. I think Nickel destroys Magomedov, but to me, after that performance, it's more about what his next opponent deserves than what he deserves. So you're going the same route by saying Vettori. It's really more about what Vettori needs. I'm kind of going the same way with either Nickel or de Ritter.
And I guess the dance was
not like us by Kendrick. Yeah, and
I said
that
was I think I said Kanye West.
Yeah, they both start with K.
I don't know my rap music too well.
It was only like probably the biggest rap hit of last year. Well, it was definitely the biggest rap hit of last year. Just
was that who he was beefing with? Kanye? Was he beefing with somebody?
He was beefing with Drake. With Drake. Drake lives in Canada, so he kind of lost right out the gate. But yeah,
they were beefing over Trump's tariffs. I'm sure that's what it was about.
I don't think that didn't come up at all.
I think they were beefing over, right? That's what the two rappers, they're beefing over free trade. One's for free trade and one's for tariffs. Is that what's?
Yep.
That's what's happened. Before that, one of our favorite fights when we broke it down, Randy Brown take on Nicholas Dalby. Randy Brown winning by second round TKO. Let's do this. We talked about Anthony Smith being Hall of Fame. Nicholas Dalby is not, when he retires, going to have one of these sad video packages and any of that. But dude, he will be immortalized in Sherdog forever. He is a no-brainer for Hall of fucking Fame.
Oh, dude, here's the thing. He almost did the Nicholas Dalby thing, and Randy Brown almost did the Randy Brown thing. Like I said on the preview that we've moved past the Randy Brown that finds weird and exotic ways to lose fights he should win, but it started to surface. And Dalby, who got his nose put on sideways in the first half of the first round. That was a Jack Della Maddalena, Andrei Arlovsky nose. Dude, no surprise here that those fighters are people that are built different than you and I are. Even beyond the skill thing, every UFC card, 50 things happen to people that would end my whole week, let alone my night. That nose, the fact that he fought on after that. Think of how
the guy is so freaking
basically
tough.
Ended Rory McDonald's career.
Yeah, and then he dropped Randy Brown.
Yeah, he dropped I was feeling pretty smart at the end of the first round. I was like, dude, Dalby's going to find a way to win this, isn't he?
And then they had this Rock'em Sock'em moment right before Randy Brown caught him. Man, it was spectacular. The knockout. It probably won't win knockout of the year because we usually give it to a
more exotic technique
headline.
A higher level fight or a more exotic technique. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But this was also one of those you jump out of out of your off your couch or whatever you're watching. You don't just watch and go, oh, that was entertaining. Like you're like, oh shit, you know.
Yeah, and it gets some extra credit for who it was done to. You know, like you think of when Ryan Hall tapped out BJ Penn. Yeah, it was cool to see a heel hook from an Imanari roll. It was also the first time BJ Penn had ever been tapped out in MMA. Like that's what got people jumping off their couches. Like the same as when Andre Muniz broke Jacare's arm. Like we jumped out of our chairs because holy shit, someone did that to Jacare. Nicholas Dalby never having been stopped with strikes, despite having been in like at least one of the bloodiest fights in MMA history. Yeah. That's part of what got us out of the chairs, man.
Yeah, they're mopping the floor with blood. Yeah. So I'm looking at the chat. Bob Simpson, obviously, he's still trolling, but he said he's not sold on Randy Brown. Dev's backing him up, saying he'll never be sold on Randy Brown. Randy Brown, to me, looked fantastic. He could not miss tonight. Obviously, he showed some power. He has obviously his long length is always going to be an issue for so many people in range, and I think he's got a very underrated ground game. I'm the opposite of those two guys. I am sold. Like I'm not saying he's going to win the UFC title because that weight class is so crazy, but to me, he's shown so many flashes of brilliance. If he could just put it all together, it's there. I believe it's there.
And he is the kind of guy that nobody ranked above him is going to want to fight.
No. Like the guys will fight him because they're just badasses, but they're not like, oh yeah, I'm excited to fight Randy Brown.
Like I understand Bob Simpson saying, you know, he's not reliable, he can't be trusted, but to some extent, he really has moved on from the guy that ended up just losing weirdly against like Nico Price and Vicente Luque. The only guys he's lost to in like the last 3 years have been guys that are just better fighters than he is. He made things more interesting than they needed to be tonight, but he may always do that. He's kind of coming into his prime now. I'm not calling him as a future champ either. It's just, it's too crowded a division. The people in the top 5 or so are just such killers, but he's 34 right now and he's fighting the best he ever has. It's going to be an interesting next couple of years to have Randy Brown around. I am glad he is in that division right now. Like what a treat this guy has been to watch over the last few years and continues to be.
Yeah. And the other thing is, I mean, he's 4-1 over his last 5. He lost a split decision to Brian Battle. One judge goes the other way with that. He's in a much different situation right now. He's got a 5-fight winning streak. He's probably co-main event instead of, you know, fifth down for the top.
And that's a loss that continues to age well. Brian Battle is the man.
I see people talking about, you know, he's 34. People are saying, oh, he's inconsistent. People are throwing up Marcus Mustin saying 14-6. All those things you said, at one time you could have said about Charles Oliveira. Now, I'm not saying he's Charles Oliveira, but there was a time where people were saying, what's he talking about? Charles Oliveira will never be a top guy. He'll never be the man. He's crumbled under pressure so many times. And he's not the only one. We can name other guys. But that's my point. Like, I've learned, I think it's safe. There's times you can say, I think it's very unlikely this guy will win a title or something like that. But just completely writing people off, I stopped doing it. I remember when I was like ready to write off Glover Teixeira, he's washed, he's done. Yeah. And like 2 years later, he's, you know, UFC champion. So, yeah. What? Oh yeah, people actually talking about that. Brian Battle missed weight too, so that's another thing.
Badly, yeah.
That's another good. And it was really close. Like he cuts that extra weight, does his, and that's the guy who fights with volume and everything.
Yeah.
I want to give. So people throw out. I actually liked a lot of the names that people are throwing out for Randy Brown. I want to give him a name, just because it's such like to me he feel like he deserves a name. I actually think this might be an easier fight than the guy he just beat. I mean, really, anything's an easier fight than fighting Nicholas Dalby. It's even when you knock a guy out like Nicholas Dalby, it's not an easy fight. But I want to give him a big fight, maybe a co-main event of a fight night. I'm giving Michael Chiesa.
Whew. I think that's a rough night for Chiesa.
I think so too, but I think that's what he needs. I think he needs a name.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, I'm not mad at that.
What would you do?
I already said I'd let him and Carlos Prates fight.
Oh yeah, you already said that. I'm sorry, you said that when we were talking about Prates.
Or I mean, J-Sex throws out Randy Brown versus Wonder Boy, since we've already like spoken Wonder Boy's name into existence here. If I'm Wonder Boy, here's the interesting thing. Like, obviously, Brown versus Prates would be an incredible fight. Brown versus Chiesa is kind of a setup for Brown to get a highlight reel finish of some kind. Brown versus Thompson, I could see Thompson making that into kind of a slowed down, hesitant fight where Brown wins, say, 30-27, but doesn't really dazzle, and it doesn't help his stock any.
Yeah, I can see that. All right, so before that, we're gonna take a pause for a second. Everyone's favorite segment is up, and I'm sorry, I am getting a little tired. I slept terrible last night. I work stuff, and so I'm way overdue on sleep. So, and it's almost 2:00. But this is everyone's favorite segment, time when we wake each other up. It's the Know Your Host segment. Ben, it's your turn to pick a topic. What is our topic?
What is the movie that you have seen the most times? Not your favorite movie, but what's the one that you've watched the most times?
All right, so I'm stuck because there's two that come to mind that it's got to be neck and neck of what I've seen. I've probably seen them both over 100 times. So the first one I'd say is the movie Tombstone, Kurt Russell and
so good,
and the late Val Kilmer. I know pretty much every single word. It's that's how I always view. People ask me, like, what's your favorite movie versus what's the best movie ever? So to me, the best movie ever is Godfather, the original Godfather. But it's not my favorite movie. Tombstone is like I can sit down. But I also know it's not the best movie ever. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and the other one, and people might give me shit about this. To me, this is, if we ever do this topic, what's the greatest Christmas movie ever? To me, it's laughable. It's absolutely laughable to me to mention any other movie, but It's a Wonderful Life. There's nothing even in the same atmosphere as It's a Wonderful Life. And I've probably watched It's a Wonderful Life 2 or 3 times every single year around Christmas time. My kids watch it. We do it as a family. I think we did it twice this year. I can name every single hot dog. I love that. I love that movie. So those are probably neck and neck. I don't know which one I've seen more. It's a Wonderful Life it's not even just a great Christmas movie. It's just a great movie. Anyway, so Ben, what's yours?
Okay, so and you to a certain extent, like I'm definitely older than you, but we both came up in the generation that, we had cable in the early 2000s.
Sure.
And there was one of the Turner channels, like, TBS or TNT,
sure,
that would play A Few Good Men like 20 times a week, every week.
Love it.
For like literally a whole decade. But here's the thing.
That's a good one.
So and A Few Good Men is one of those movies that it's so much about, like, just the acting performances and stuff, that if you're flipping through channels and it's on, you're probably going to stick with it. So the thing about me is, I have seen the end of A Few Good Men 80 times.
Oh, it's so good.
And so anytime I'd watch it, like, I'd pick it up at some point through, like, maybe it's a half hour from the end. Like, they've already realized that they've doctored up the tower logs, or maybe it's fairly early on. It's when Tom Cruise first arrives and Jack Nicholson makes fun of his pansy Navy uniform.
Yeah.
But, so I've seen the end of that movie 80 times. I've seen the beginning once, because I never fully understood what the dudes had done to get in trouble. So I went back and actually, like, rented the movie and watched it from the beginning so I could see them do the code red and, like, beat the shit out of the guy. Yeah. So yeah, I've seen the beginning of A Few Good Men once, and it's like just like this, like, little geometric curve. Like, by the time you get to the end, I've seen that scene 80 times. Yeah. So it's A Few Good Men.
That is up there as one of the best movies ever. I love that. To me, that's probably Tom Cruise's best movie.
I'd have to think about it, but it's definitely up there.
It's up there.
It might be his best performance. I don't know if it's my favorite movie of his, but he was so good in it. It's the first movie that made me go, okay, he's not just like a good-looking dude who was in Top Gun. Like, he's a great actor. Yeah. Antoine Willis says No Country for Old Men. That's one of those movies where it's an incredible movie, but it's a hard watch. Like, I couldn't.
Yeah.
Kind of like Leaving Las Vegas. I can't just sit down and watch Leaving Las Vegas or like Schindler's List every weekend.
List. That's exactly.
Yeah, hey, let's fire up Schindler's. Nobody says that.
I love the movie. It's a great movie, but it's like I seen it once. I don't have to see it again.
And I mean, if we're being real honest, dude, I got like 4 biological kids. What I've seen most is probably some like DVD of Dora the Explorer that I got from the cutout bin at Walmart for $3.99, and my kids proceeded to watch on a loop every day for 5 years. I mean, that's really what I've seen those times.
I had 2. My daughters are now, one's in high school, one's in junior high, but they were growing up the peak of Frozen. When they were 4 and 5 years old, playing it every single day and listening to it and singing it and. We'll read some other people's. So Juice X is clearly trying to troll me. Die Hard's it's a decent movie. It's okay. Like it's not. It's turn your brain off and watch it. It is nowhere near better than It's a Wonderful Life. Not even freaking. Like I said, and nobody's don't even bother debating me. Like I don't even consider any other movie over It's a Wonderful Life. Year Without Santa Claus. I haven't seen that one. I'm sure it's pretty good. What else do we have? Marcus Mustard, Billy Madison, Tommy Boy. You want to read some, Ben?
Yeah. Antoine Willis says Training Day. Ethan Hawke and Denzel Washington were fantastic. Like Denzel was so fucking terrifying in that movie. Like I'm still scared of Denzel because of that movie. Nonprofit. I actually replied because he said Edge of Tomorrow, underrated Tom Cruise movie. I love that movie, and I think it underperformed because it wasn't packaged right. Like they sold it like it was.
I don't know that one.
It was sold as kind of like this sci-fi action movie with like a little bit of time travel in it, but really it was kind of like just this really dark comedy. It was Groundhog Day with explosions because he gets stuck in this time loop where he has to keep repeating like the same battle over and over again. And so you just get this montage where he's like blown up 20 different times. But most importantly, you get like, what's her name at the Emily Blunt at the peak of her hotness, like doing Cobra pose like 40 times.
Okay. All right.
Keeps walking in on the same workout where she's in like this leotard. It's like, yeah. Normally I have to run back those scenes, but instead, like they ran it back for me.
So Spaffron mentions, I don't know if he's saying this is the movie he's watched a bunch, or this is his
Rain
favorite Tom Cruise is Rain Man. The problem is he gets beat in that movie. He gets outshined in that movie. You know what I mean?
Oh,
that's what Dustin Hoffman.
Yeah, like Dustin Hoffman owns that movie. Yeah.
Anyways, people got to kill us. We got to keep. Everyone's everyone liked your topic this week. That's a great movie. So
I learned this week about Heat that the cafe scene with Pacino and De Niro was filmed completely separately because the two of them weren't on speaking terms when they filmed it. So like they literally were saying their lines to an empty chair across from them.
Really?
Like that whole thing where. Yeah, so like weird. one of the most iconic scenes in movie history, like maybe the best cop versus robber conversation in movie history.
Yeah,
they weren't even in the same room at the same time.
Well, it's not the best. The best is when Bert, the cop, is talking, to Mr. Bailey, and It's a Wonderful Life. What are you doing, George? My mouth's bleeding. Anyways, it's just so ironic. Al Pacino and Robert De Niro, because they've been linked to so many movies together. I mean, Godfather 2 and everything. But anyway,
to get back on track, every time a UFC timekeeper hits the 10-second clapper, Dan Murgliata fucks up and an angel gets its wings.
Yeah, there you go. Nice. Speaking of 2 all-time iconic people, Andre Muniz took on Ikram Aliskerov, with Aliskerov getting the biggest win of his career, winning by first round knockout. I believe in Aliskerov. We both were kind of high on him. We both liked him in this matchup. He might be the dark horse in the division. Agree or disagree?
I'm glad that he came back and looked great. He and Michel Pereira were the 2 guys that kind of had the most to prove that they weren't damaged goods after an ugly loss. My problem is that Muniz just looks so inert and so shot that I don't know how much of this is Aliskerov really being back on track. Yeah. I need to see another fight out of him, but it was important that he just plow through Muniz like he did tonight. I like that.
What I like is he's obviously a good wrestler. He's got heavy hands, and then he did what he should do to a guy that if the guy's washed. So again, I take a lot of stock in that. But I totally agree with Muniz might be washed, which is so crazy because it wasn't that long ago. He was the guy in the division. Remember when Israel Adesanya was the guy in the division, not the top pick, but the like hipster pick of who could dethrone Israel Adesanya was Andre Muniz. He was Muniz take him down and sub him. He was like, again, there's other people who got mentioned, but Muniz would get thrown in the conversation, and that wasn't that long ago. And he's, obviously Adesanya is in a very similar situation right now.
Dude, if you asked me like 4 years ago, I would have said, this is Andre Muniz as a prospect, and this is Kyle Bahalio. And boy, was I wrong.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, I thought when the UFC signed Justin Gaethje and Marlon Moraes, that Marlon Moraes was going to have a much longer, better career than Justin Gaethje. So what the hell do I know? And I was telling my friend he knew jack shit about MMA because Gaethje wasn't going to last long in the UFC. So Alex Garov, I'm going to give him another big name. I mean, he's obviously the biggest fight of his career. He lost. I don't knock too much losing to Robert Whittaker. I mean, the way he lost was bad, but again, he didn't even have a full camp for that. I know they were like a change of opponents, and obviously very early in his career. I'm giving him a headline. I don't know if it's a headlining fight, but a guy who has headlined a lot. I'm giving him Jared Cannonier.
I have no problem with that at all. I like that a lot.
Did you have any other names?
No. Like I was thinking of someone like Vettori, but I actually like Cannonier better for this. Like,
nice.
Because Alex Garov versus Cannonier would probably go more towards proving it to me, at least, that the Whittaker fight was an aberration. Like, I need to see Alex Garov against another very competent striker.
Yeah. I like that. Before that, one of the funnest fights in the night, Matt Snell took on Jimmy Flick, with Snell winning a.
Oh, we have different takes on this fight.
A unanimous decision. Well, I'll say this: the fight was super fun. I wrote split decision in my notes, but it was unanimous decision. The fight was super fun. It was super simple, but it was also super sloppy. But
it almost looked like a fight between two guys that can't decide for sure whether they want to be professional fighters. Two guys that have pseudo retired within the last couple of years. What a mess this dude.
In the second round, when they had a close up of when Jimmy Flick was going for that head and arm triangle, and you can see a close up of Matt Snell. I thought Snell was retiring in mid match right there. Dude, I swear Snell's eyes were bulged out the entire fight. He was like this the whole fight.
I don't feel any better about Flick. And now with Snell, I go, okay. And I felt for a while that Snell is a guy with top 10, maybe top 5 physical tools and talent that has had a mix of bad luck and questionable fight IQ. That's just, he's kind of the second coming of Ian McCall that way. Just like it's never really, really lined up for him. But you know what? No title contender is losing to Jimmy Flick that bad.
No,
at any point in that was terrible.
He won,
the ease with which Flick took him down the first couple times. Like in the first half of the fight, he made Jimmy Flick look like Bo Nickel. And I'm saying that for real because we've already mentioned Bo Nickel on the show. I'm not doing it just to mark my free square on the bingo card. Like Jimmy Flick was getting easy takedowns against the fence. He shot a double leg on him in space. Like, what the hell is happening? Snell used to be a decent wrestler.
I just kept saying, so you kind of led to the thoughts I wanted to was, yes, Snell got the win and it was fun. And he did have to dig deep and he changed it. Like one more, it looked like he was about to get choked out. And then he completely changed the entire fight. He escaped and he kind of broke Jimmy Flick when he reversed the position. He ended up on top of it, started landing some shots. And then, Flick still had some moments, but I'm saying the momentum really should change. That said, I'm with you. I'm really fading Snell moving forward. I'm watching this fight and I'm seeing him get taken out. I'm like, dude, throw a jab to the body. So he can't really duck underneath it. It looked really bad. The way Flick was able to get to his hips over and over again. Yeah, I'm with you. There's a very good chance, especially in that division. There's really no easy outs. Everybody's super talented at flyweight. I'm picking that person to beat Snell moving forward, probably. Depending on who they match with. But there's not many guys in the UFC right now that I would take Snell over, which is
agreed.
Which is too bad, because till the knock we had about Snell was, yeah, he's been losing matches, but he's lost to studs. How far has he dropped off? And it's like, oh no, he's dropped off a lot. Like, yeah, he won tonight, but this was one he should have friggin' destroyed Flick.
I agreed. And man, I didn't say it, but if you put me on the spot for my lock of the night, I would have said Schnell over Flick. And 7 or 8 minutes in this fight, I was like, man, I am glad I did not say the word lock.
Yeah. Before that, two former teammates, two Missouri fighters faced off each other as Evan Elder took on Gage Young. Elder winning in unanimous decision. I want to say something too. I'm going to say the same thing I just said about Snell, about Elder. I'm fading Elder. I am not sold. I think I was watching this fight and I was watching Young, and I'm like, Elder is putting himself in position to lose, and Young just refuses to take it. Elder kept moving back to the cage, basically trapping himself. And Young would not commit. He'd throw these two feeler jabs where you kind of try to find your range. He would find he'd jab himself to his range, and then he would just back out.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
and no, you're
totally right. Dude.
And the one of the few times he actually followed up the jab with the right cross, he hit Elder so cleanly that I think Drew Dober, sitting out in the crowd, was about to take his shirt off and try to run into the cage and be like, let me show you how to finish this fight. Yeah, any top 25 UFC lightweight watched that fight and was like, oh dude, I'd sleep this guy so hard.
This fight should have looked the ending of Askharov from Muniz, where Muniz was backed up against the cage with the pressure of Askharov, and then boom, left it. Now, again, obviously it's not, you can't compare them exactly. Obviously, Askharov has a lot of power, but my point is dude, what are you doing, man? And then he's down 2 rounds to nothing, and Elder's giving you even more chance. Elder's slowed down, and he's giving you more chance, and the guy just will not throw punches at him. What are you? There's no way he watches that and say, what the fuck, man?
And I know he stepped up on 8 days notice.
Sure. UFC debut.
UFC, but you know what? A lot of fighters that are doing that just go in and empty the tank, knowing hey, I've got 3 minutes to finish this fight. I can either get an incredible win and make a big splash, I can get flatlined in 3 minutes, or I can gas out and lose a real ugly decision. And Gage Young kind of chose none of the above. He just kind of fought really tame and lost kind of a crappy decision. He'll get at least one more chance, but this wasn't it. The Terrence McKinney special, says JSX. I like that.
Yeah, I know a lot of people back in Elder. I have not jumped on that Elder hype train yet. I don't see it. He
looks like you would like a top 10 lightweight to look like. He's a jacked dude.
Sure. He's got some speed, but everybody has speed at lightweight. Yeah. Everyone hits hard. I don't know. Before that, Chris Gutierrez took on John Castaneda. Gutierrez winning by split decision. I looked at MMA decisions. It was 9-3 in favor of Gutierrez. I was really surprised by the 3 people who gave it to Castaneda. To me, I thought it was a very clear cut 29-28 for Gutierrez.
Same. It was weird because there weren't any tough to score rounds. It was all pretty obvious.
And a lot of people on Twitter were saying how close the fight was, and I didn't see it, and
it was competitive, but it wasn't hard to score.
No, and I felt Gutierrez got exactly the kind of fight he won. It was at Gutierrez's range. Castaneda was his inability to close the distance, to get to the hips, to get to the wrestling. He got to the wrestling way too late. I thought Gutierrez looked pretty good. On the flip side, I see a fight that I thought he was really cruising, and then he gets taken down. He can't get off the bottom, and it just says that sounds how good he is. That's what keeps him from being a contender in the division, because he has the striking skills. Obviously, those calf kicks. I don't think he's the most dangerous striker in the division, but you get my point.
Yeah,
but he's got the Chikasi thing going. He can't get off the bottom.
Yeah, so there's always going to be clear routes to victory for his opponents, and 145 is a high fight IQ division for the most part. Like if you have a weakness, most of the top 10 guys are going to come at you with it. So yeah, that kind of defines his ceiling. I'm totally with you there.
Speaking of guys with a ground game, did not actually show it as Damon Blackshear took on Alatang Haley, with Blackshear winning a unanimous decision. I was watching this fight and I'm sitting there and I'm like, Blackshear's making it closer than it needs to be. Like, why isn't he wrestling? But then I just thought to myself, he does not respect Haley's stand-up at all. That he thinks he can just outstrike him. He's trying to show a different wrinkle to his game, in front of a crowd and everything. And I'm like, I'm okay with that. His team was telling him to wrestle. I don't know if you heard him.
Yeah, I gathered that from the response of the announcers. Yeah,
but he still was picking him out. So I'm like, all right. Haley really struggled with the range. He really struggled with the speed and the variety of Blackshear. Blackshear's won 3 fights in a row now, Ben. I mean, are you believing in him?
Yeah, I believe in Damon Blackshear. His next loss, unless he makes it all the way up like into the title picture, is probably going to be some hard-hitting counterpuncher, just catching his chin in the air and either putting him away or hurting him bad, like his last loss came. But he's really skilled. He's getting better with his game plans, and he has some incredible tools. Like, yeah, I like Damon Blackshear a lot.
Yeah, I like him a lot. Are you calling him a future bantamweight champion, like Bob Simpson trolling in the chat is saying?
Not as long as Merab is no. Your champ. Like Merab is about as bad as matchups get for a guy like Damon Blackshear
or Umar.
Yeah, but dude, I mean, Merab might actually hurt Blackshear bad on the feet. Like the way he kind of swarms forward and throws a million punches. Like I could see him catching Blackshear's chin in the air and actually hurting him on the feet. And it's bad enough when Merab takes you down and you're not hurt. If you're dinged up at all, like you're toast. Yeah. So, but I would not be at all surprised if Blackshear fought for a title at some point in the next 3 years or so, though.
I love Bob Simpson saying my guys went 2-0 the night. Yeah, his 2 like 3-1 favorites both won. Real bold picks there, Bob Simpson. Before that, in one of the fights that we were kind of pumping up a little bit, Cameron Simon versus Malcolm Wellmaker. I know some of our hardcore listeners were excited about this one too. I thought it was going to be a close fight. It was not, as Wellmaker absolutely knocked Cameron Simon's head off. I mean, to me, that's a tough stylistic matchup. Your first fight, a guy that was at one point, kind of a hyped up guy himself, and then you destroy him. I mean, I liked Wellmaker. I said he was going to be a good addition. I know you liked him a lot too. I mean, I'm all in. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be a champ or anything like that, but I feel like he's one of the big winners tonight.
Oh yeah. It may just turn out that Simon is damaged goods. He looks like a guy that will not win another fight in the UFC. Whether they let him go now or they give him 3 more chances. But yeah, Wellmaker looked great. He did exactly what he was supposed to do.
Yeah, he dropped. I mean, it was sensational. I mean, Simon faceplant. I mean, he went down faster than Shedeur Sanders did on the freaking draft boards. I mean, he was dropping. So before that, Polyana Viana took on Jacqueline Emmerich. Emmerich win by second round submission. To me, this was. I mean, I know Emmerich was like a negative 900 favorite. But besides that, it was just the way Polyana Viana wins she was not going to win against Amarin. This was such a bad stylistic matchup.
It was absolutely terrible. Terrible matchup for Viana. Like a good grappler who isn't terribly physically strong against a great grappler who's a freaking tank. I mean, you and I, this was one of the easier calls on the card. Amarin was one of the hugest favorites on the card, and it played out about like that.
Yeah, I mean, Amarin's super good on the ground. I think Viana is so overrated as a grappler, especially on her back. I mean, she's been something, I think 2 or 3 times in a row now. They keep talking her up like she's some spectacular grappler. She's not. Do you believe in Amarin? I mean,
yes.
This is the lower level fighter in the division, but I think based on that division and what we've seen, like someone like Verna Jandaroa, but I know Verna's a better like wrestler.
Yeah,
you got my point. Like what she's
been able to accomplish. Amanda Lemos challenged for a title, and considering Lemos's vulnerability to grappling, I mean, no tape study off the top of my head, I'd favor Amarim over her right now, and pretty comfortably. I mean, I'm a believer in Amarim,
and I know Amarim is not Mackenzie Dern in the grappling, though she's pretty freaking good.
She's not Mackenzie Dern, but she might be more MMA effective than Mackenzie Dern.
Yes, I'm glad you said that. Yeah, I mean, look how close Dern is right now. So, I'm believing too. I like Amarim again. But this fight didn't change it, my opinion. Like I don't feel like, I believe now that she beat Polyana Viana, but I will say I believe a little bit more because she did exactly what she should have done.
Which it's an underratedly difficult thing to do, is just go out and win the fights that you're supposed to win in the way you're supposed to win them. I'm with you on that.
Before that, Timmy Kwamba took on Roberto Romero. Kwamba winning by second round TKO. Any truth, Ben, that so Romero won the first round. He was winning about midway through the second. Is there any truth that Kwamba won as soon as the crowd started cheering USA? That was what he needed to turn it around.
I can only go with the evidence of what I see. Yeah, I'm thinking that kind of like, Hulk Hogan just like ripping off the Hulkamania. Yeah, that's what he needed. That put him over the top.
It would have been great. He's shaking a punch and he stops and just points at him.
Goes to all 4 corners.
Yeah. I remember as a kid where like Hulk Hogan would like start shaking his arm and I'd be like, when a guy starts punching, like, King Kong Bundy's punching him or something and he just doesn't feel it anymore, he just shakes it off. I'm like, why can't he just do that right in the beginning when he starts getting punched by King Kong Bundy, or Big John Studd or something? Like, why didn't he do that right away?
Oh, no, I'm totally with you, man. I'm old enough to I'm old enough that I grew up watching Voltron. I was like, why do they always wait to get their asses kicked before they form into the big robot? Like, why even be the lions at all?
Yeah, dude. I'm watching the Ninja Turtles. I'm like, how do they not know that every single time they save the day and they trap Shredder, the little thing that comes up from the ground is going to come through the ground at that second, and Shredder's going to run into it and escape every single episode. I remember as a kid. Do you remember Zeus?
The wrestler, like Tiny Lister? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Rest in peace.
I remember thinking he was like the scariest guy who ever lived. Yeah, he came out with his lazy eye, then he pulled off like the steel cage door and stuff. I'm like, oh my God. So obviously it was a great flying knee, but I think the stoppage was early.
And Antoine Willis said as well, he thought the stoppage was super early. I agree. Early stoppage probably wouldn't have changed the outcome of the fight, but you have to.
Agreed.
You can't judge these things strictly on the outcomes.
Sure.
Like, and the analogy I always bring up is, imagine if the FAA only investigated when there was an actual plane crash instead of investigating near misses. Like, you have to do things by the right process. Like, yeah. Corner Stars playing Real American. Absolutely. By God, that's Tito Ortiz's music. No.
Tiny Lister once hit on nonprofit 87's girlfriend.
And nonprofit 87 just tucked him in and left him mint on the pillow.
That was, he said that was awkward. It was really awkward when Ben did the same thing and hit on his girlfriend. I thought that was a little awkward, but he's down. Hey, the man's down 50 pounds. So there's nothing you could do. When the guy's looking like that, clean shaved, down 50 pounds, what are you gonna do? I'm gonna go to Galveston, Texas, and lose my wife. I'm like, what the heck? This guy took his shirt off at the beach. Hey,
no, we've already determined that, like, unless Carlos Ulberg is on that beach, you're probably safe.
You know what? Hey, we're not that far from Fort Worth. Please take her. I'll be right up. I'll be in Fort Worth in no time. Yeah, I agree with it. The stoppage. If Kwama just dropped him one time, then I would be concerned. But he was hurting him and rocking him before that. So again, early stoppage, but I think it was probably going to end up that way anyway. So I feel like Kwama almost got stolen.
And early stoppage, shortchanges the winner as well, because there's always that asterisk. People will remember it, but this one, it was early, but it wasn't like robbery of the year early.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, give the guy another 5 seconds.
Yeah. The most disappointing moment of the night was the first opener as Jocelyn Edwards took on Chelsea Chandler. Not the result of the fight or the action, but the fact that both the fighters made weight. Like, what are we doing? We could have made history. I wanted both of them to miss by like 12 pounds each.
Yeah,
Edwards looks good though. She looks really good.
You got to consider the opponent. Chandler's not been good, but again, I feel like we've said this a couple times tonight. There's something to be said for going out and winning the fight that you're supposed to win in the way you're supposed to win it. Like Edwards there was no suspense.
Well, yeah, she got a knockout. She's trying to show some power. I like that she added in. She had a nice takedown, which something that obviously when Edwards first came to the UFC, she wasn't doing. So she's kind of added skills. That division is super shallow. It's not only is it super shallow, but it's super old. Manny is coming back. She'll kill her. Kayla Harrison would kill her.
Oh, good grief.
The current champion, Johnny Payne, would kill her. But they're all old right now. Now, I know Justin knows they're old too, but my point is, like, all these people could disappear like very soon. And I'm not saying Justin knows will win the title, but I am saying she's going to be some fantasy points tonight. So we'll take that. With a stoppage, first round stoppage. I still think I'm in the negatives because she missed weight. So, anyways, you guys, we've covered all 14 fights. Let's get into the fun stuff. Ben, want to go negative?
Sure.
What is your cut list? How many people do you have for the cut list?
Oh, I have 1, 2, 3. I have 3. Since AnthonySmith is walking away.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I get 3 too. So not counting AnthonySmith. So let's see. So the way the cut list works, if both me and Ben have the same name on the cut list, we allow the UFC to get rid of that person. We'll read out any people that the chat agrees on. I'm going right away. The first fight of the night, Chelsea Chandler lost 3 out of 4. She missed weight. During that, not this last fight, but she missed weight during that twice actually. Are you agreeing and getting rid of Miss Chandler?
Yep, she's one of the ones on my cut list. It's unfortunate because she made the bantamweight limit for the first time in 5 fights in the UFC. Actually came in a pound under the championship limit, but just continues to not be that good. That's the problem.
Yeah. Who else do you have on the list?
Cameron Simon.
Yeah. 3 losses in a row.
He's 24 years old. There's every possibility he goes, retools, comes back 3 years from now on an 8-fight win streak, and he's a featherweight for all we know. But right now, he's gotten knocked out bad. 2 fights in a row against Peyton Talbot. That's going to happen. Peyton Talbot's solid, but we don't know about Wellmaker yet. What we know is that Cameron Simon it's not working right now.
Yeah, send him back to the regional scene, go back to South Africa, get on a regional card, fight like an absolute tomato can in your bounce back fight. Then the next fight, you take a guy like a mid-level guy on the regional scene. Then his third fight, take a guy who's like a pretty good, but you still should be favored. And then you finally you face still like another top guy. And then if he wins all 4 of those, bring him back. So we both had 2. Who's the last person, Ben?
My last one is Jimmy Flick.
Oh, so I saved Jimmy Flick just because his fight was so fun. I was
okay.
Then
Let Matt Schnell go. One of those guys are gonna go.
I was getting ready, despite her being probably in the Mount Rushmore of beautiful women in the UFC. She's got stopped 3 losses around. I was getting rid of Polyana Viana.
I'm fine with Viana going as well. It just sounds like we needed to expand the cut list.
Well, just get her to like who's this new girl? I know she's not new. She does the weigh-in show. She was doing Megan O'Leary's job tonight.
Yeah, I can't remember.
She does
her
a countdown
name.
show. She like brings in like the not countdown, the weigh-in show. She brings in like, oh, we're in Louisiana. Okay, I went to a crawfish place, Bobby's Crawfish, and here's some crawfish and taste it with me. And like, give Polyana Viana that job. She'll do it. She could do like she could be the that's it. Mackenzie
Pavicic.
Yeah, like she could be the Brazilian one. She could do it for like the Brazilian broadcast or something. Like I don't want her out of the UFC altogether. But all right, let's go to Dude Seriously. Ben, do you have any Dude Seriouslys?
I've already alluded to it a couple times, but I don't know if we're gonna get some news headline later this year that stopping steroids and starting Ozempic ruins your hearing. But Dan Miragliotta screwing up and confusing the 10-second clapper with the end of the round twice in the same night is just boggles the mind. Like how?
Dude,
how?
seriously.
Like that is the most literal Dude Seriously moment, because what else can you say? But dude, seriously, good, bad, or in between, you're one of the most experienced refs in MMA. You've been doing this for 15 years. You've done literally thousands of rounds. And pretty much anywhere in the world, there is a wood clapper 10 seconds before the end of the round, and then there's a bell or horn at the end of the round. He literally put his hands on fighters in the middle of a locked-on submission with 10 seconds left in the round.
Twice.
Like if I were the losing fighter, I'd be like calling for a no contest. I'd be like appealing and calling for a no contest.
Yeah, I was about to win. I was about to do my special move with those 10 seconds left when the person had my back and was going to submit me. I actually have a move from there, and I didn't do it because he touched me. And then when I realized that there was still time, I couldn't put myself back in that position.
Exactly.
I'll remind me before we hang up today to tell you a Dan Miragliotta story off the air.
Okay.
I can't tell it on the air. You have any other ones?
Oh, that's it.
All right. I got a couple. At one point, there was a Kansas City Sports Commission commercial talking about something about Kansas City sports and championships. And for some reason, they kept showing the Kansas City Royals. Really? That's the sports team that's going to represent your commercial for Kansas City? Not the Chiefs? Really?
Meanwhile, the crowd is doing the Chiefs like cultural appropriation chant in the middle of a completely unrelated sporting event. Like I think the people have spoken. They're more into the Chiefs. Like
yeah, dude, seriously, what's about a Kansas City Sports Commission? How bad is John Castaneda's eyes that he's got to wear eyeglasses all the way down to the cage? Like, dude, seriously?
Yeah, that's interesting. Now that you mention it,
at one point, Abus Magomedov and nonprofit mentioned Abus post-fight speech. He might be talking about when he talked about, I wanted to put on a show for you guys and have a stand-up fight. They were booing the whole fight, dude. Seriously.
Yeah.
I got to call us out, Ben. this is for us, dude. Seriously, I'm really ashamed. How did we not have a dad joke and we got out dad joked by Laura Sanko? How did we not have an elder versus young dad joke, dude? Seriously?
That's a good point, man.
Like, how did we miss that? That's like we're the king of the dad jokes, dude. Seriously?
That's pretty sad when you think
She
about
got
it.
us on that one. And my last one, Anthony Smith got beat up so bad. I don't know what happened. Suddenly he started, I don't know if you caught this. He started flipping off like a fan,
Yeah.
and he had to get held back by Zhang from going into the crowd. Anthony, did you see how bad you got beat up tonight? You might have lost to the fan too. Like, dude, seriously. Anthony Smith would jump in the crowd and catch the hands from some freaking teenager.
It might be like, you remember the old show Bully Beatdown?
Yeah.
And for the most part, the bully beatdowns were just exactly what you would expect from some just, random untrained 22-year-old against a professional fighter. But there were like two of them where like the bully actually beat the pro fighter. That's what it might have turned into.
Yeah. All right, let's get to the Bulls of the Bears. The Bulls of the Bears are a stock market reference. You want to be on the Bulls list. You don't want to be on the Bears list. We do it hockey style 3, 2, 1, 1 being the best. Let's go. We were going a little negative. Let's go positive, Ben. Let's do the Bulls. You want to go first?
If you don't mind, that'd be great.
Sure.
Bulls. Ikram Alaskarov. Again, there was a question mark hanging over his head. It wasn't a protracted beatdown, but he got totally embarrassed by a top fighter in his last fight. It's on him to prove that he's still a factor in the title picture. If Andre Muniz is damaged goods, which he appears to be, that's what you do to him. You just completely thrash him for most of a round and put him away. So good showing for Alaskarov. And the fact that you and I are talking about future matchups for him that would put him back in the title picture proves that, at least as far as we're concerned, like he did the job that he was supposed to do tonight. Bulls. Jocelyn Edwards. You mentioned, like, 135 is such a wide open weight class. It's such a shallow weight class. Like I always compare it to men's light heavyweight, where the top 3 or 4 fighters are extremely skilled, and the 5 through 15 like have something they're good at, but they all have flaws, and a lot of them have bad fight IQ. A lot of them have bad conditioning. That's women's 135. To see her kind of tighten things up and show new wrinkles to her skills, Jocelyn Edwards might be a future title contender in that division.
Yeah.
And number 1, Randy Brown. Like, made it a little more exciting than it necessarily needed to be, but part of that is just down to Nicholas Dalby being Nicholas Dalby. He got a finish that's going to at least be shortlisted for knockout of the year in the UFC. Cut a pretty good promo, made a realistic call out that at least I, was minded to award him. Yeah. Randy Brown, great night of work.
Yeah, I had Randy Brown high on my list too, so he was going to make it. I'll give you a couple other ones. Despite me saying I'm going to fade him moving forward, this guy came in the UFC with some buzz, kind of fell flat. People were looking past him, but now he's won 3 fights in a row. Abus Magomedov. His stock has gone up, even though he didn't look good. My number 2. Malcolm Wellmaker. The dude's 9-0 in the 9-0 in his career. He's got these great KOs. I did on a contender series. I just did in his UFC debut. He's got a big personality on the mic. So I'll say Malcolm Wellmaker. And my number 1, this dude's won 4 of his last 5. Just beat Giga Chikadze, get the biggest win of his career. I'm gonna go David Onama. I mean, he's converted Bob Simpson. Bob Simpson thinks he's gonna win the title. So all right, let's go over to the Bears. This is the list you don't want to be on. This is whose stock has dropped. I'll go first this time. My number 3, Andre Muniz. I mean, this is the guy that, like we said, was a sneaky guy that could win the title. Now he's lost 3 out of 4. Even the one he won against Jung Young Park, I thought he lost that fight. So he really could be on a 4-fight losing streak. He's up there in age. His stock has dropped. How about Giga Chikadze? He's 36 years old, so that's concerning. He hasn't won in a really long time. He's lost 3 of his last 4. And he actually missed weight for this fight too, which is really bad luck. So Giga Chikate's stock has gone really down. And my number one, he's only on a 2-fight losing streak. We made a lot of I want to say excuses because we weren't. It was you lost to Anthony Hernandez. Anthony Hernandez is the man. Well, Abus Magomedov isn't the man. He looked terrible. I think Michel Pereira, everyone's jumping off that bandwagon. He looked terrible. Ben, what do you got?
I agree with all of yours, so I don't think I'll necessarily pile 3 more on top of them. But Gage Young, when you step up on 8 days' notice for an accused rapist, you are playing with house money. Like, actually winning is just icing on the cake. But you pointed out, just he didn't. There was no moment in the fight where I thought he was even in danger of winning. You know what I mean? Like, just like he didn't do anything to make me think he's gonna win if they give him 2 more shots. Just he looked inert. That's not great. And not a great night at the office for Factory X. They're normally one of my favorite teams. I'm not even going to completely go there. Like
they won 2 out of 3.
Yeah, and they you can't really blame him for the Anthony Smith fight. Yeah, so nix that. Yeah.
I just answered a question. Mr. Cunningham came in late. I don't know what Mr. Cunningham is doing at 2:25 a.m., but he had something important to do, but he just showed up now. He might have that Pollyanna Viana nightlife thing going on, and he asked if how do we feel about the stock of the 2 main event fighters. We both think Ian Garry had a great show.
I said up for Gary, not too much down for Prates.
Yeah, kind of same. So, all right, Ben. We never did the awards. Do we have awards?
We have awards. We have a fight of the night, and we have 2 performances of the night.
Oof, that's gonna be tough. Do you agree with them?
No,
you don't. All right. So I think the fight of the night, I would have given it to Snell versus Flick, just because of how back and forth it was. I think the moments between Brandy Brown and Dalby was really crazy, but probably Gary Prates probably gets it. As far as performances, Randy Brown for sure, and I'm gonna go Wellmaker. That's the 3 I'd give it to. Ben, before you say what they were, tell me what you would have given if you were writing the checks.
I would have given fight of the night to Brown versus Dalby.
Okay.
It wasn't a terribly long fight, but just had wild swings and momentum. I was on the edge of my seat the whole time. Sure. And performances of the night, I would have given to Wellmaker and Brown. I would have given Brown double bonuses tonight. $100K for the man. I'm sure that goes a hell of a long way in Jamaica if he's like sending his mom money. Yeah.
Okay. So who did win?
Your performance or your fight of the night was Brown versus Dalby. Your performances of the night went to Malcolm Wellmaker and Zhang Mingyang. You know what? For breaking Anthony Smith's face and all of our hearts, you don't get extra money. Give that check to Randy Brown.
Yeah, I totally agree. Randy Brown should have got paid tonight. So Ben, we alluded that was a pretty fun night. I'm gonna give it I'm gonna go like B+. It was some really fun moments. Even like the main event, like I wanted to be more competitive, but the fact that I thought Prates coming back super late made it really fun. The only thing that kept from an A is the Pereira fight. That fight was a fight I was looking forward to, and was so disappointing. That keeps it from an A. But overall, if you bought tickets, you were in Kansas City, I think you made out really good tonight.
I feel basically similar to you. We both called this on paper maybe the best non-pay-per-view UFC card of the year so far. It was good, didn't quite deliver on that. And the reason in my mind is that in several of the fights, it's not that one fighter like performed like out of their mind. It's that the other fighter didn't really show up. And it's
Sure.
it's never great when a fight plays out just because one guy didn't show up. Like Michel Pereira is one of them. Andre Muniz is one of them. Yeah, like that's it. Still entertaining night of fights. Had a couple of brutal knockouts and a couple of really fun fights. I'd give it an A- B+.
Yeah, cool with that. All right, so the hardest question of the night is always who's the listener of the night. Ben, who do you got?
We had a pretty lively bunch tonight, including some people that are either new or don't drop in very often, like MMA Plays is a regular on our previews. I think this is the first time he was really on a recap for any appreciable amount of time. Bob Chimpson still remains the volume king. He's the Max Holloway of the chat section, where he's just outlanding everybody else 5-1. Antoine Willis is up there. So is Mr. Cunningham. Tonight, I'm giving it to Nonprofit 87. He made me laugh a few times, reminded me of a few things that I didn't know or had forgotten. Just real solid performance all around, but very crowded field tonight.
Yeah, dude, honestly, this is like my favorite time of the week doing the recap shows. So the recap show and the preview show is 180 opposite. Preview show is all preparation. The recap is not. It's right on the fly, 5 minutes after the main event shows, winging it. I like the interaction with the listeners and stuff. So I'm going to give it to – I'm going to go similar, but not exactly. I'm going to give it to Nonprofit 87's wife for being able to getting Zeus, taking down Zeus. So we'll give it to Nonprofit 87's wife.
If there's one thing we know
Mrs.
about
Profit.
Zeus, Tiny Lister, is that he was always like seeing other women on the side.
Yeah, and other guys and other objects, and his eye was as
the dude could see around corners. But
his eyes was doing the Nick Dolby nose move. So, anyways, guys, there you have it. There's the most in-depth recap show in the world. Speaking of the most in-depth preview show in the world, we'll be back. The next card, UFC Iowa, headlined by Mr. Bo Nickel. Yes, I did get the Bo Nickel in bet and said a couple times versus Rene Dorita. And then there's also a fight with Corey Sandhagen and Davis.
They had to go dig up Jeremy Stevens to find an actual Iowan to put on this card.
Yeah, and I think they totally blew it with Bo Nickel. Bo Nickel's going to get all the headlines, even over the main event this week. But he needs
is Iowa going to boo him just because of the wrestling?
But MMA fans don't like him anyways. MMA fans hate the guy. But yeah, absolutely.
And
if it was in Penn State, then it would make sense.
Yeah.
I think they belong. You had him his last fight being Madison Square Garden, to put him in Iowa just because he wrestled and there was some kind of rivalry, which is not really because.
Like the crowd in Des Moines is going to be the highest proportion of cauliflower ear of a UFC crowd this year, and they do not like Penn State.
Yeah. And I don't know. I think it's very similar to what I felt about Ian Gary. Certain people just need to be on pay-per-views. I think Bo's not that situation. But we'll get into that preview later. The preview will come out one day later than we normally do. And I shouldn't say later than we normally do because it's actually happened
the second week in a row. But it's my fault this time. But yeah, like I will publish it as soon as it's done producing. So it'll kind of be in the middle of the night, Monday night, really.
So Monday, technically Tuesday morning. So make sure you guys check that out. Thank you guys who stayed up really late with us commenting. Yes. We'll be back recapping UFC Iowa week this time next week. Thank you so much. Like, share, do all that fun stuff so we can keep doing this. We need you guys to do that for us. So thank you so much and have a good night.
And don't hang up. Tell me your Tandan story.